Welcome back to Dakota Cowboy here on Beck TV. We are brought to you each and every week by our great friends at Dakota Community Bank and Trust. We're here at the Killdeer Saddle Club multi-function room. We're here. It's empty today, but 13 months ago, this was a flurry of activities, all for this young lady. It's Miss Rodeo North Dakota 2022, Elise Burwell. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Yeah, it's your day off today, and you took time out to visit with us, and I just want you to know that we greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. You've been competing. You competed for 17 years, 9 different titles, culminating with Miss Rodeo North Dakota 2022, and a top 10 finish as Miss Rodeo America. You have to feel just ecstatic about that.
Oh, I really do. I was kind of thinking that on the way down here too. It's all the things leading up to that one moment at the end. You know, being a state queen is an amazing opportunity. Very grateful for that. But it's everything that led up to that moment to be able to get to do that, and then to finalize and place in the top 10 at Miss Rodeo America. And I was the same person as I am today throughout the entire week. I showed them who I was, I showed them who North Dakota was, and just really proud of myself overall.
What was the first title that you ever had? I think it's like we said you had 9 titles. What was the first one? You started competing at a very young age.
Yes, I actually got into it when I was about 4 years old, and it was our local saddle club was adding pageants, and Lisa Wilm was the director, and that's how I got to know her, so she coached me throughout years. But my very first title was the Hankinson Saddle Club Rodeo Princess. I do want to make a note that I was the very last rodeo princess. After that, they just went to a horse show. But that was my first step in the door, and raised a bunch of money that year so we could still continue on with having an event on that same weekend in Hankinson, and they've still continued it to this day. As you competed, did you feel your confidence build as the years went by? Oh, absolutely. There's just some things now it doesn't even faze me to do. You know, sit here and have this interview, sit in front of a crowd and give a speech. I mean, it's all things that just come with time and repetition and practice, and getting out there and just being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yes, I understand. Yeah, do you find yourself craving, the microphone, craving to get up there and tell people your story, whatever it may be? Yeah, I have to kind of tone myself down every once in a while. Now that my year is done, time to just kind of work behind the scenes and help girls improve and succeed. But we all come from something, we all have a story, and we can all learn from each other and different backgrounds, and it's always fun to hear how we all got into it too. Yeah. Coming back here, that night was January 1st, I believe. We just had a brand new year, 2022. You took over for Callie Lee Enander, who held the title for 2 years due to the pandemic and things. Talk about that night and what it's like to come back here today. Yeah, I mean, it's just got to be, there's got to be some emotion there, I would think. Yeah, it's absolutely surreal. I still look around, and actually the lights on the ceiling, those are permanent. Those have been up here. They had a wedding a few years ago, and they just left them up, and it really worked into my theme, which was denim and diamonds. So kind of bringing the Western aspect with the glam of being a rodeo queen. And just looking back, the people that showed up then and who continued throughout the year to support me and reach out if I ever needed help with anything, needed someone to talk to. And that night, what people don't understand is that coronation is very stressful. There's a lot of weight in our shoulders, because the one question that we have in the back of our minds, months leading up to it, and especially that night, is, am I going to raise enough money? Because that is their biggest fundraiser, and without that fundraiser, we can't really support our year. Being Miss Rodeo North Dakota or any state queen is considered an unpaid internship, so all the expenses that go into it have to come from somewhere, but we don't get paid to do it. So that fundraiser is a huge deal. Yes, as I learned at Lindsay's coronation earlier this month, I think it's like 35,000 miles you girls put on over the year from Maine to Spain. I mean, it's, you get the crown and it's hammered down. It is, yeah. So my coronation was on January 1st, and I left, I was supposed to leave that following Monday for a stock show, for National Western Stock Show, but I got sick, and they had some storm weather, so they pushed back their parade and stuff, so I didn't actually leave until the 7th, but it was the first 3 months are extremely busy, hit the ground running. Two of my favorite memories of Elise Burwell, at our spring premiere, we always display our new displays for the year, and we showcase those. You walked into the rodeo room at the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame, walked up to where your picture was displayed, and it was like handing a little girl a new puppy. You were just so overcome by that. Talk about that. It makes me even tear up just thinking about it now. That was one thing after I knew I was crowned Miss Rodeo North Dakota and that 2022 was going to be my year. I never thought, you know, something on my bucket list was to be in the Cowboy Hall of Fame. I never thought that was something I'd want, and after I realized that my name's going to be in there forever, my picture's going to be there for an entire year, it just hit me that, wow, I get to be a part of that legacy and part of the history of what North Dakota is.
Another memory that I have of you was at this arena just down the hill from here, July 4th, and you had a spirited Palomino horse that kind of was a little bucky, and you handled it well. I got goosebumps just thinking about that. That had to have been a lot of fun, and you got a lot of great photo ops on that too, didn't you?
I did. That was really fun, and it was kind of different. So usually when we carry flags, we come in, we go to the right, essentially going the left way around the arena. But with how that arena is set up, and Anthony Lucia is our announcer, and he wanted me to come in to the left, going around to the right. And thankfully we avoided all the bucking stock and everything, so she was okay until we had to stand still, and then she couldn't see any more of her friends. So I got a little nervous and reared up, but it was perfect timing, and that's how some things work out. I always flash back to when I was the junior queen for North Dakota Winter Show, and we had, at that time, 3 girls on each side would face the crowd, and then the contestants would come through in serpentine, and as the end of the line came by, you jump in and continue out. And I was the second to last flag, and my horse got really nervous. It's very loud in that building. All the clapping and cheering just builds in there, and he got nervous and he stood straight up, took about 5 steps and came down right behind the...
Were you carrying the flag at the time?
I was carrying a flag, yeah. And I was a tiny little girl. I mean, this was 2012, 10 years ago, or almost, I guess, 13 now, or 11 years. But yeah, so just kind of reflecting on those things of, you know, those crazy things happen, but it's the right timing. Nobody knows that it wasn't supposed to happen or it wasn't an accident, and you just continue on and keep smiling. Okay.
Then that's, you know, all year long, from the 4th of July all the way through the fall rodeos and, you know, into the winter. You were on the road, and then you went to a place called Las Vegas and the Miss Rodeo America contest. We should note that Miss Rodeo North Dakota 82, who went on to become Miss Rodeo America 1983. Brenda Lee Bonagofsky Pickett was one of the judges. She's an inductee into the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame in 2017. I would think that she was probably a little reserved as far as, you know, saying anything, but did she give you a nod or anything like that? Did you communicate with her?
Yeah, it was actually really cool. In our personal interview, that was our first chance to really get to meet the judges one-on-one and, you know, introduce ourselves. That was right away on Monday, and walked in, you know, gave everyone a handshake, and she went to go shake my hand. She's like, "Hey, girlfriend." So that was really cute and really fun. But it was, I mean, I remember the moment she walked into the room that morning on Sunday. We just checked in, taken our written test, taken our pictures, and all the judges walked in, and she was introduced as, "We have a past Miss Rodeo America, Miss Pickett." And nobody else had recognized her name, and they didn't know who she was, and I was fangirling. I was freaking out in the back row, like, oh my gosh, that's Brenda Lee right there. So to get to spend that week with her, and, you know, got to have different lunches and breakfasts with her as well, and just to get to know her, I understand why she was Miss Rodeo America. She's an icon.
And your picture was next to hers in the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame all year long. Yes. Wow. So, you know, you go through that contest, and that's got to be grueling. That's you're up at, you know, 4:35 in the morning, and it's all day long. Talk about competing for Miss Rodeo America. What was that competition like?
Truly, it's nothing like I've ever expected or prepared for. Competing for North Dakota or any other title, to go to Miss Rodeo America is a completely different ballgame. It's definitely, the production aspect is a big part of it, and they put you under a lot of pressure because Miss Rodeo America is under a lot of pressure. That's where the early mornings, late nights, I would say probably 80% of our time was spent in dance rehearsal, so that fashion show could be on point and absolutely perfect how they wanted it to be. And it is a lot of moving parts in that fashion show. We were split into 3 different groups, and we had different rehearsals for each one, different dance routines for each group. It was just a lot that went into it. And then the other crazy thing too is, and yes, that pageant's 8 days long, but the only one-on-one time we get with those judges is about 25 minutes. I had 10 minutes on Monday for a personal interview and 15 minutes on Tuesday for horsemanship. And any other time I saw the judges was on stage for an event or a question, or at a breakfast where we rotated. We each got to have a breakfast with a judge. We just kind of rotated out. So that's kind of a different aspect of it. You really got to come ready and prepared, confident in who you are and what you want to show those judges on who you are and where you come from. And I'm very proud of myself that I did that.
We're proud of you too. Yes, amazing, because top 10 finish. At what point, when they announced the top 10, did they announce Miss Rodeo North Dakota Elise Burwell? Was it number 10, or was it halfway through, or where was it?
I think it was towards the end.
Okay.
I want to say it was like 6th or 7th. I can't remember exactly.
They called your name. What
yeah,
happened? You just had the butterflies had to just come flying.
It was a relief because I knew I did good all week. I was very proud of myself. No matter what happened, I didn't need that validation that I did good. I was super proud of myself. But to hear my name, like, no, yes, I actually did it. I really did do good. And actually, Miss Arizona was right to my left. We were right on the edge of the stage. And before that curtain had closed, she looked over me and gave me a wink and said, "I'll see you down there." And so then I got called, and she was called shortly after me. So when we walked by, gave her a squeeze of the hand, and we did the same as we got down in the front row. It was just really fun.
A very successful career in pageantry, if you will. I mean, 9 titles over 17 years, top 10 finishes, Miss Rodeo America. Where do you see your experiences taking you as you gain going forward here? What do you see some of the assets that you're going to take with you?
Yeah, I have always been told I have a lot of knowledge about the rodeo queen, rodeo world industry, and I've been in for a long time, so it's hard not to have that experience and build on that knowledge. I did start a podcast last year, just briefly, and I'm hoping to continue with that. Last year was very busy, and it's hard to kind of stay focused with everything all at once, so I'm hoping now that a little more downtime to continue with that podcast and educational series about rodeo and everything that goes into it. But I'm looking to expand it. Haven't officially made an announcement on the public yet, but I'll tell you today.
Okay.
So I'm going to expand that into a Rodeo Queen test subscription. So girls can
wonderful.
They can sign up every month. They'll have a new test, just kind of really build on that knowledge. And that's one thing I told the judges in America too, that and everyone else, throughout this year is we can look the part, we can, put on the fancy clothes and the hair and the makeup and we can climb on a horse, but there's a lot that goes under that foundation. Being able to talk in front of a crowd, being able to have the knowledge about what you're representing, your organization, the sport of rodeo. I think that's super important, and I really want to build on that and have that be a standard for girls.
Speaking of the fancy clothes, you've got a dress that you designed with all the brands on it that you mentioned that you intended to donate to the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. Tell us about that dress. Yeah,
that was my fashion show dress, essentially, for the North Dakota pageant in 2021, almost 2 years ago now. It's wild.
Yeah.
And I had an idea of what I was going to do, and about 2 weeks before pageant, I had another idea that I've always wanted to do something with brands. And so I thought, well, I got 2 weeks, I can put it together. And so I actually gathered brands from people who influenced me or part of North Dakota's history in the Western world or rodeo. People were inducted that year into the Hall of Fame, a bunch of different brands, as many as I could get. And I got some paint from Walmart, and I used a Q-tip, and I painted brands onto the skirt of that dress.
It's a wonderful dress, and we'll see it one day at the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. Wonderful, and thank you for that. That's an amazing, amazing dress. I can't wait for everybody to see it. I wasn't quite honest when I said that there were a couple of memories that stand out. There's one more that stands out that I really, really like a lot. It was an essay or a poem called And God Made North Dakota.
Yes.
What was the purpose of writing that?
So I had competed for North Dakota in 2015, and at that time we still had prepared speeches. And so we had one for our platform and then one about the state of North Dakota. And I was young, and the title I had required me to compete for North Dakota, and so I was just going in for the experience and kind of hit a writer's block, trying to figure out what I was going to write. And it wasn't until my mom and I had came out to Western North Dakota, actually the Bar X Ranch, Doug Tesher. We used to go out there every Labor Day to go ride. And I remember telling my mom, like, oh, this is God's country. And that's when it clicked in my head, like, there's my topic for my speech for North Dakota. And that was around the same time that So God Made a Farmer speech had been released. And so I'm like, well, I can do a different rendition. So I threw that together in about 4 days. And right after pageant was done, I knew I could make it better. And so I had made a rendition of it and made it a little bit better. Brought in a lot of different aspects of North Dakota. So I grew up in the southeast corner where we always joke that it's so flat you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. And so I pulled in parts of that, our Red River Valley, our grasslands, our farming, ranching, and ended it on the west side of the state with our Badlands. But then after that, Miss Rodeo America and the state organization stopped doing prepared speeches. So I was never actually able to deliver that speech or present it in front of a crowd. So I took advantage of it at the North Dakota pageant last year. I had my chaps made kind of as a roadmap based off of that speech. So they're an old batwing style, old school cool is what I call them. And they're made by Ron Deteen with hay belly leather out of Wheatland, North Dakota. But they have wild horses on one side, they got a cow-calf pair. The tooling down the side represents the rivers of North Dakota. The floral is our native prairie rose flower. The the cropland also of North Dakota, just a lot of different aspects that were tied into those shaps, and kind of made the roadmap, so I was able to deliver it at our pageant, and here we are today.
With the assistance of ND Legendary, North Dakota Tourism, in the background behind you, would you please share with our viewers that speech, "And God Made North Dakota"?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
At the end of the 8th day, God looked upon his planned paradise and said, "I need a land to call mine." So God made North Dakota. A land with nutrient-rich soil that could support multiple crops, from corn to soybeans, sunflower, wheat, and potatoes, year after year. Miles of rivers would connect all corners of the state, bringing together fish, waterfowl, and fur traders. So God made the Red River Valley. He said, "I want a place which will stay true to its roots, a protected land where native grasses can grow wild, like the purple coneflower or smooth horsetail grass. These generous prairies would be lush and stirrup high, so cattle ranchers could flourish on them during the summer months for grazing, while deer, antelope, fox, and rabbit would seek to it for shelter and food during the brisk winters. So God made the Cheyenne, Dakota, and Little Missouri National Grassland. He wanted this land to be fierce, so strong it could stop glaciers right in their tracks, but bold enough to hold thundering herds of bison, which could be witnessed carving 96 miles of the Mattahay Trail into the earth. If you listen closely, you can hear manes rustling with the wind and feel the powerful hoofbeats as the wild horses claim their freedom. Magnificent hills named the Painted Canyon would beckon the nation to come and behold their breathtaking beauty every morning the sun touches its soil. So God made the North Dakota Badlands. Now, this is no ordinary land built on hard work and high morals. It is only my favorite. God has continued to put a love for Western heritage in this little piece of heaven called North Dakota into my heart. So I'm proud and thankful to be in God's country, or what I know it as, home.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. You will always be Miss Rodeo North Dakota 2022. You are North Dakota legendary.
Yes.
You are. Thank you for your time. Thanks for all you've done for the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame and the great state of North Dakota. Thanks, Elise. We'll be back on Dakota Cowboy in just a moment, brought to you by our friends at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.